It's Tim Albright with AVNation, with AVNation Special, the Road to ISE. ISE, Integrated Systems Europe, is finally happening. We are going to Barcelona, 10th through the 13th of May. And with me to talk about some fantastic digital signage stuff is Mr. Florian Rutberg. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me. Hi, Tim.
Thank you, sir. You and I have talked a bunch of times over the years. You are 100% in the digital signage space. That is what you do, have for the last 15 years or so. Well, more than that, but you've been involved with the digital signage showcase throughout Europe. A fantastically popular and successful show. You've partnered now with AVIXA and with the ISE folks. We're going to talk about some other shows that you have coming on later in the year, because the one you've got in July is also incredibly popular. But let's talk first about what digital signage is happening at ISE the 10th through the 13th of May.
Absolutely. Well, we are really excited to be back, back in a real show and being for the first time having a big event in Barcelona. So the DSS ISE, that's what it's called. It's a half-day digital signage conference. It's taking place on Wednesday, the 11th, starting at 10 o'clock until 2 p.m. So you still have plenty of time to enjoy the showcase afterwards. And we're having a full program, with some of the brightest people in the digital signage industry, really talking about trends and drivers in the industry, having some end customers there. So we have Benetton there, we have Porsche there, some people really using signage across the world, but also, people like Accenture or some of the, more interesting and more relevant integrators in Europe, talking about, what has happened the past 2 years, and especially, how, the world has changed since then and what it means for digital signage in general.
Yeah, some of those advances have been, wire like touchless, interactive displays, people walking in and interacting with them as well. You in Hall 6, and when this is going to take me a couple of years probably to get used to, because the move from Amsterdam to Barcelona, this is the first time kind of internationally that we've all gone to Barcelona. You did have a smaller event last year, but Hall 6 seems to be kind of the location for all things digital signage. In there, there's a retail showcase. Talk about that for a second.
Absolutely. Hall 6 is a digital signage hall, the old Hall 8. So remember, 8 is now 6. That's very simple.
Yes.
And the setup of the Fira is in Barcelona is very simple to navigate, so you can't miss it. And yeah, we have a retail showcase there because we decided really to focus, besides our conference, to have something for end users, especially for retail end users. As we are moving to Spain now, we expect a lot of new people attending the show for the first time, and especially end users. So we decided to really set up a little store and show all the different retail tech and digital signage technologies inside one store and compare different technologies next to each other, totally agnostic of the vendor. So we have like a showcase where we have like 20 different sensor technologies, and we can really show, which technology is best suited for which use case. And so you can really walk through this little app, and we have some really cool partners. So it's Samsung, NEC, Intel, Vestel, many players out there really supporting us, and we are having a really great thing. And that's especially for end users, but obviously everyone is welcome there, and it's free to attend.
Well, and the other thing about that is one of the things that I've learned over the years is as more and more AV users come in and the decision makers come to shows like this, it's also a great opportunity for the integrators, the dealers, to walk their clients through, right? Something like the showcase gives them the opportunity not to walk through a specific vendor's booth, right? It gives them the opportunity to see kind of how all these disparate technologies work together, right? So you have a display company, whether that's Samsung or NEC or whoever, and how it's working with a media player, right? Or some sort of interactive technology, or an occupancy sensor that senses when somebody comes up. So giving the dealers the chance to kind of showcase and show off this technology without either having to build out a showcase themselves, right? Which more and more, especially on the commercial side, dealers do not have a showroom of some sort, but also gets to see the latest, greatest technology in person, and giving that kind of back and forth with their clients.
Yes, and Tim, especially in an environment where a retailer feels familiar with, with his shelves and everything around it,
Yep.
so it's much easier for him to understand. And especially as we talk more about solutions, we talk more about data-driven things. That's something that's very difficult to show on a booth of Samsung or whatever, where you just show nice LED and display. But it's really the full story there and the whole customer journey. Absolutely. So everyone is welcome, end users as well as integrators, coming with their most important customers to walk through that, explore that, and to explore, why retail tech is really, giving us this immersive experience, and why physical retail really has an important place in everyday life.
Yeah. Real quickly before we move on to the show in July, you have been in this space for years, for decades. Give us a sense, because we're located in the States. We have different rules and regulations. We have different marketing pressures. When you look at the digital signage space in Europe and maybe a little bit beyond, what's your sense? Like, where is that space right now?
It's quite interesting. Usually if there's not pandemic, I travel a lot between North America and Europe. And digital signage seems a little bit more advanced in Europe compared to the US. In the US, you have some really great wow stuff, the big cities, some flagship stores, which are really great. But over here, it's more about data driven.
Mm,
So it's really connected. And as you remember, digital signage, when it started a few years ago, it was a silo. It was really nice within a silo, but the silo wasn't really connected to anything. And over here, basically all the new concepts being rolled out are really connected to ERP, to CRM, all of these systems. So you really have this seamless customer journey, regardless if it's mobile or in the store. And that's where probably Europe is a little bit ahead. On the other hand, we also have some more challenges because GDPR, our privacy laws are much stricter than the US. But to be honest, in the US, when you go to Illinois or to California, it's not that different to Europe anymore.
yeah.
And so it's really about not what you can do, but what you're allowed to, or what is culturally accepted. That's even more interesting, because even when you are in Norway or in Spain, there's a huge difference of what the culture background allows. What kind of technologies people accept, being used on them.
I think you just hit on something right there, because this goes back to ISE and the show that you have coming up in July, which we'll talk about in a second here. That cultural awareness is incredibly important for dealers that are reaching out beyond their own borders. And I'm not just talking about the states dealers that are going international. There are several in the UK. There are several in Korea, in China, in Japan that are going outside their borders, going into countries that they don't necessarily have anyone who is native to that country, right? Whether that's you're going into India, you're going into UAE, having someone on your team, or at least the knowledge base, to go into a country and go, okay, here are the cultural norms, right? This is what is acceptable, and this is what'll get you kind of looked at sideways. How do you manage that, or how do you advise folks when they start going, someplace beyond their normal home base?
Well, to be honest, we always recommend having local partners on board, and not only content but also for the concept. And quite interestingly, we had a really nice discussion with Philips, with NEC a few days ago, and it was about command and control rooms. And it's really interesting. So we're not only talking about retail, but also in the command and control rooms. They look totally different in the US or the Middle East versus in Europe. In Europe, you don't build new buildings for that, So they're existing buildings. They're much smaller. But as a culture, it's very different. You don't have like 200 people watching a huge LED screen, and then if something goes up, they call somebody, and somebody else comes in and fixes the problem. But it's really more agile, flexible teams. So you need to be a higher resolution, smaller video walls, where people who are in the control room can stand in front of them and solve the problem directly. So it's a cultural thing. So it's not only about in retail, but in many other vertical markets, that you have to understand the need of the market. You need to understand, what the cultures are around, and then, create the right thing. So there's not one concept which works around the world.
All right. We're talking to Florian Rutberg, Integrated Systems Europe, ISE. You can go to iseurope.org. That happens the 10th to the 13th of May. However, Florian does not get a vacation then, because in July, the 6th and 7th, he's got another showcase, Digital Signage Showcase. Talk about that event for a second, and the importance of the several events that you do throughout the year for the European market.
Yeah, it's called the Digital Signage Summit Europe. It always takes place in summer in Munich at the airport, and we do it already for 15 years. So in total, we have done almost 50 DSS events now around the world. So it's a whole event series. And 6 years ago, we decided to work together with AVIXA. So since then, we organize it together as a joint venture with AVIXA. And the DSS, it's probably the biggest, at least the most important digital signage strategy conference in Europe. For end users, well, the industry. And so it's a full 2-day event with a little exhibition going on, with a fantastic evening event. It's just, 700 people coming together, and really discussing the latest of the industry, having a lot of social and network events around it, because it's so important after 2 years of pandemic. People want to talk and want to have a beer together and just, exchange and understand where they are. And so it's really great. And the best thing in all our conferences, they're never paid presentations. So we choose every single speaker, and it's usually panel discussion, so not any marketing presentation. So it's really about only the best people, only the brightest people, the most disruptive people are allowed on our stage, and we have always a really, really great lineup of people. And especially this year, so many people want to come because they're so desperate to meet and talk and mingle again.
I want to point something out here. As much as I have called myself a big dumb American for years, and I am, and I know it, and that's fine. Something that Florian just said though is about us wanting to get back together and having a beer and connecting in a physical space. That I think goes across cultures, because I'm feeling it here. I'm feeling it when we talk to our friends in the UK, we talk to our friends in India. There is that sense and that need and that push to get back in person, to get back in together in real space or in real life, as the kids say. So, Florian, I am looking forward to seeing you in Barcelona, and maybe I'll get to see you in Frankfurt as well. IS Europe, iseurope.org. Florian, if somebody's interested in the digital signage summit you've got in July, how do they do that?
It's digitalsignagesummit.org. But you find everything also on the ISE website, so it's easy to find. Just focus on ISE, come join us in May, and obviously love to see you in July. And we're also at Infocom, so if you come to Vegas, so we do something together with AVIXA. It will be announced shortly. So we're looking forward to see all of you again, and we're really excited.
Absolutely, we are as well. Florian Rudberg from DSS, thank you all so much. For us, for AVNation, go by our website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv, and follow along as we also head to Barcelona the 10th through the 13th of May for ISE, Integrated Systems Europe. All that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.